Yes, sir, we will bring the lines of over Tumaini. Come forward, brother.
Greetings, everybody. Greetings. My name is Tumaini. I'm 22 years old, and I'm a former member of the African Bantu Saturday School. And this evening, I'm just going to be doing a brief presentation on Marcus Garvey's significance to me as a young person. And he's one of the most inspirational figures that we've ever produced. He was a man that advocated race first, and he was a staunch Pan-Africanist. Now, while at the African Bantu Saturday School, I remember learning about Marcus Garvey on several different occasions. The people without knowledge of their culture and their history is like a tree without roots. And this is absolutely vital that all of us, as children, as adults, we always remember this. When we was in school, we never got taught our true history. We was always taught that, for example, Malcolm X was a violent individual. Never teaching us properly that Malcolm X always advocated self-defense. We were constantly being attacked, so we got to defend ourselves as African people. Now, I've had the privilege of just graduating from university studying biomedical science. And learning about people like Marcus Garvey while I was in Saturday school was instrumental in allowing me to do so. Now, Imhotep was known as the father of medicine and known as the world's first multi-genius. It's absolutely vital that all of us here and all of the young people be aware of somebody like Imhotep. Because normally when we think of these sort of great scientists, or we think of all of these great figures in history, we always think that they're white. But the first actual multi-genius of this world was a black man. And so when I was in Saturday school learning about all of this, when I was at the African Bantu Saturday School, it blew my mind. Because obviously when you're in mainstream school, you don't learn about that kind of history. And so for me, learning that, it was incredible because it linked between our black history classes and our science classes. The second person who I want to briefly mention, in particular to do with the science, because it kind of directly relates to what I've been studying, was by a man by the name of Dr. Charles Drew. Now, Dr. Charles Drew was in the field of blood transfusions, and this directly related to my degree. How so? Now, like I said, I've just been studying biomedical science for the last 3 years up in Manchester at university. In two of my modules this year, one of them being on immunology and the other being on transfusion. So while actually studying in my final year this year, we was learning about transfusions. But if it wasn't for a man like Dr. Charles Drew and his incredible medical work in the 1930s, 1940s and 1950s in America, I may have been able to study something like this. But again, this isn't wide knowledge. This was a black man that was doing this in America. And it's important that all of us, that we learn about all of the great heroes and all of the great sheroes in our past. And it was Marcus Garvey who told us, as we said on my talk, a people without knowledge of their true history and culture is like a tree without roots. He was an organizer. You know, Marcus Garvey, he identified several problems in our community during this time. And instead of talking about it, he decided he wanted to go and do something about it. He had chapters in Africa, he had chapters in America, he had chapters in Asia, all around the world. So this was the impact of this great individual, because he had impacts all around the world. Like I mentioned earlier, he inspired every major black movement in the 20th century, without a shadow of a doubt. And if you look at all of the great individuals who he influenced, many of them always speak so highly of Marcus Garvey. For example, people such as Elijah Muhammad, people such as Malcolm X, people such as Dr. Martin Luther King. If you look at all of when we was getting our so-called independence in Africa, but all of these leaders of all of these countries, such as Dr. Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana, such as Jomo Kenyatta of Kenya, such as Patrice Lumumba of the Congo, such as Nelson Mandela of South Africa, they all looked to Marcus Garvey as an inspiration. They all read Marcus Garvey. So if all of these great leaders of all of these countries was reading Marcus Garvey and learned about Marcus Garvey, and he had such an incredible impact, it's only right that we do the same as well. And it's only right that we're here today to remember Marcus Garvey, because he is essentially one of the greatest ever leaders that we've ever produced. Now, in conclusion, like I said, you know, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, he was an incredible individual, and like I said, it's only right that we're here to celebrate him today. I'm currently in the process of setting up a study group. Now, the reason why I'm setting up this study group is we need to study and we need to learn about our history and learn about our true history. And part of that is that it's I'm 22 years old, I'm particularly kind of aiming it as sort of people roughly my kind of age, and we're trying to get out there so that we can learn, so that we can study, and so that we can organise, because you know, like, we're the next generation. The generation before us have done fantastic work, and it's kind of our turn to kind of take on the baton, as they say. And so I'm organising little study groups. If anybody's interested in any of that, they should kind of contact me afterwards. And I would just like to end with the words of Marcus Garvey by saying, "Up, you mighty race, you can accomplish whatever you will." Thank you very much.